Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Experts Cafe. I'm your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer. Today with me, I have Miss Eva Goulette. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Awesome, perfect. And I've had the opportunity to speak with her, to network with her, hear her story, how she shows up in the world, and what she does. And I think that people need to hear everything. And so here she is with her message. I'm very excited to have you here, Eva. And please tell us a little bit about yourself, your personal story, and how you got involved with what you do.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for this opportunity. I have always been on a spiritual path in my life, always been a seeker, and always looking at how I can heal from past trauma and how to be the best I can be. And I suffered a traumatic brain injury a few years ago. And as a result of that, during the night, I was waking up with information that I previously had no knowledge of. And I realized that this was really fun information that I was being given about how to work with children in a brand new way. And
Awesome.
so
So, as far as the children, tell us how you, or what was the message?
Well, the very first message I received was one about how to teach children about energy centers in their body, which, as an adult, I knew that those were called chakras. And I was familiar with them, but the information I was being given was how to teach them to children in a really fun way so they could understand that as human beings, we're made up of energy
Mm,
and how to work with that energy in our bodies. So I borrowed some children from my friends and started sharing that information with them, and they loved it, and the parents loved it. So I realized that as I was sleeping at night and recovering from this brain injury, I was being given this really fun, playful way to teach children how to be a spirit in a human body and how to understand that we're made up of energy. And it just kept growing and developing from there.
that's awesome. Oftentimes, I talk about how children pick up the vibes and the energy in the household and or from other people, and they're actually more in tune with it than adults are. So, and I've seen children who have been given this understanding that there's energy and you're part of that energy, or you are made up of energy, and the discussions and the way they carry and conduct themselves is truly amazing. And I do definitely invite all the parents to actually have their children try this on just like an outfit and see how it feels, because I truly see that it's like adding an extra dimension to that child's development. It's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And so much of our society is really focused on children's minds and their bodies. But as human beings, we're also made up of spirit. And it's really important to help children understand that growing up balanced in understanding that mind, body, spirit connection is a really important way to empower children to maintain health as they're growing up and nurturing all aspects of who they are.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in your opinion, based on your experience of what you went through, um, what do you think is significant about this? Now, we just talked about it briefly, but why this? Why spirit? Why not focus on all the stuff that we already deal with?
Well, because to my understanding, there aren't a lot of bodies of work in the world that are really helping children understand that aspect of who we are as human beings, that spirit aspect. And, so many of the adults that I work with in my business are having spiritual awakenings, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. And they're always saying, I knew this stuff when I was a child, and I really suppressed it because I wanted to fit in. And I felt like an outsider, or people told me I wasn't normal. And I realized that part of the importance of this work is that if children can grow up understanding that spirit part of us is part of who we are, and those gifts or those sensitivities they have um, are are things that they can embrace and nurture and develop, and they don't have to be stuffed down like so many adults have experienced in their lives. I
Mhm.
really feel like there's going to be a shift in our world in a in another generation if we can help children today understand that spirit essence of who they are and why it's so important to develop and nurture that.
Mhm.
I really feel like they're going to become adults who have a whole different way of showing up in the world. You'll be showing up with much more self-awareness.
So you mentioned adults in their 30s, 40s, and beyond. So we understand that adults are capable of doing this. But in your experience, when it comes to children, is there an age limit or is there a youngest age that can do this? Or is this something that we are born with it?
Well, I think we're born with it, first of all, because I feel like children are often, even infants, are often seeing things that and don't have the words to talk about what they're seeing.
Mm.
I'll give you an example here. One day I was talking to children about auras, which is the field of energy that surrounds our bodies. And I was talking about them showing up as colors, and some people can see those colors. And this 8-year-old child got really frustrated, and I could see him like fidgeting in his seat. And
Mm.
I asked him if there was something that he wanted to share. And he like just put his hands on his hips and he said, I can't believe nobody has ever told me there's a word for those colors.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it was so clear he had been seeing those his entire life. He had never talked about them. So, I mean, we had a really interesting conversation with his mom when she came to pick him up because she had no idea that he had been seeing auras his entire life. But it
Mm.
made sense to her because she said as an infant, she could see he was tracking things around the room or looking above people's heads as opposed to into their faces. And um, yeah, she said it just made a lot of sense to her that this was something that he had been experiencing his entire life. So
Wow.
I come across stories like that with children over and over and over again that really validate for me and for their parents that they have so much more awareness about our world and their surroundings than we understand at this point in time.
And it's so amazing because I feel like, it's so easy to suppress this stuff and push it down and never talk about it or forget it and dismiss it or whatever it may be. And for a gift like that to go unnoticed, literally in many people's lives, all their lives or most of their lives, because it was just something that never got addressed, never got validated, never nobody ever paid attention to or accepted as part of that person's identity. And the thing that could have been done had that gift would have been shared with the world also, and where we would have been with that.
Right. And I want to share something that another parent shared with me. One day, she came home from work really exhausted, and her 5-year-old child, who had been taking classes from me, went up to her and said, Mom, you look really tired. Would you like me to align your chakras for you before dinner? I think you'll feel better. And the
Mm.
mom said at that time, not only was she amazed that her daughter knew what she could do to support her mom, but she said in that moment, she realized that when children learn this information at a young age, they become partners in the well-being of the entire family. It's not just from mom and dad down. They
Yeah.
are active participants being able to support each other, even
Yeah.
as young as 5 years old. So that is one of the huge benefits that families see, that this can actually shift family dynamics because children are empowered with wisdom and knowledge and tools and techniques to be able to support everyone, including those that are older than them.
Right. That's beautiful and powerful because I oftentimes, both at my house and in the courses we talk about, that family is a team. It's not, a top-down type of a thing, that everybody has a role and everybody belongs. And children really look forward to being a contributor to the team, as opposed to somebody that's sitting on the bench until they're called on, right? So
Mhm.
this is a beautiful way for children to share their gifts and their abilities with the family. Now, in your experience, what are some of the challenges that people face, both children and families, when dealing with this stuff that otherwise is called woo, and not everybody is open to it? Like, how would a family that is very science-based or fact-based address something like this?
Well, typically, I invite those families to come into some of the classes that aren't quite as woo-woo, because we have numerous classes that we offer online,
Mhm.
where we offer social emotional learning curriculum, where we start working with the children to help them develop awareness around self-compassion and positive self-talk, and kindness, gratitude practices, affirmation practices. So even in public schools now, we're offering those types of classes in programs within schools and in after school programs. So typically, I invite families to come in and start doing that type of work with us. And then, if they feel comfortable to take a class and learn about what the chakras are, then, we'll invite them into any of those classes. But they're able to come in to experience classes that really help children connect to their inner world. And they're not too woo woo. They're not very woo woo at all. I mean, we can mainstream these classes right into public schools. So so each family can find their comfort level with the type of material that we're teaching the children. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, good.
And that's actually really cool to ease people into it in that sense, so that they get an appreciation and understanding of it. So I guess I asked two questions at the same time. The other question is, what are the challenges that you see people facing when they're seeking you out, or when they actually want to step into this role and they encounter, of course, things that they have to overcome?
Well, the challenges when some of the challenges that parents have come to me with are, um, I'll share one small story. This child had already started taking classes with me, but a parent came to me because someone in their family had passed away in their sleep. And their child was really traumatized by that and was afraid to go to sleep at night because she feared she would pass away in her sleep. So
Mm,
the mom asked me if I had any suggestions of what the child could do, or how she could support her child.
right.
And I knew the child had just done some work with me on learning how to do shamanic journeying and how to work with a power animal. And this child's power animal happened to be an owl. So I suggested to the mom that right before the child were to shut out the lights for the night, that she call in the essence of that owl, her power animal, and
Mhm.
ask it to watch over her during the night and to be responsible for waking her up in the morning. And the mom said the very first night they did that, everything shifted, because the child trusted this spirit helper of hers, her power animal. And once she was able to hand over that responsibility of waking her up in the morning to this power animal that she absolutely loved, it
Mhm.
completely relieved her of any anxiety that she was feeling. And the family, who hadn't slept for 2 weeks because this child was fighting going to sleep every night, got their first good night's sleep on the very first night.
Nice.
So there are really simple tools and techniques that we can introduce into children's lives to support them when they're facing challenges. And for adults, like adults might call in a spirit helper or a guardian angel. So being able to offer the same type of support that an adult would call upon, being able to offer those to children in really simple ways, is providing them with so much comfort and support. And it's empowering them with tools that typically children don't have in our world right now. So we're just seeing so much positive impact in how the children are moving forward in their lives with this. We call it their wisdom toolbox.
Awesome. Awesome. And I like the toolbox. And speaking of toolbox, I would like to kind of sample some of those tools. So do you have any tips or secrets for either our children or parents of these children that they might be able to watch this video and right afterwards could take action on them in this field?
Oh my goodness. Well, most of our teachings are kind of long, but all right, I have one. It's a little bit tricky for me to do right here, but if we were to stand with our feet flat on the floor and put our hands like just above our belly button, put our palms there,
Mhm.
and close our eyes and really feel our feet anchoring into the floor. If we were to ask our body to tell us what a yes will feel like, my body always rocks forward onto the balls of my feet. And then if I come back to center and I ask my body, what will a no look like? For me, I will rock backwards onto my heels. And that's called muscle testing. So I encourage children when they are stuck, not really knowing what to do, and we practice with really easy things first, to muscle test themselves, because this is a way that they're connecting to their higher wisdom. They're connecting to their intuition. They're learning how to trust their gut instincts or their gut feelings. And that is so important as we grow up into adulthood, because so often we all ignore those little messages that we get from our intuition. So we start by having children hold something edible that they like to eat in one hand, and then ask if it's in their highest good to eat that particular thing. And then they'll typically rock forward. And then we give them something unedible. It could be like my mouse, and ask them, is it in their best interest to eat that? And typically they would be rocking backwards onto their heels. So once they start understanding how their body will communicate with them with the yes and the no, they can play games with themselves, like, what color shirt should I wear when I go to school today? And muscle test themselves and just start building up that way of connecting to their higher wisdom. Because when those kids age up into older years where they're having to make a decision like, oh, my kids are skipping school tomorrow because they're going to go to the beach. Is it in
Mm.
my highest good to be skipping school tomorrow and going to the beach? Like, they have a way to check in without um, having to seek information or answers from outside sources. They have built that muscle of trust in their own intuition, and they can start asking questions that have a much more serious impact on their lives, and be confident at that point in time that they know that they're going to get the answer that is in their highest good.
That's awesome. That's amazing to have a internal compass built into things. So that's really
Mhm.
cool. That so I definitely am gonna have this thing tried. I mean, I actually felt it when you were describing it, so it's pretty cool. All right, wonderful. So Eva, how can people find out more about you, follow you, and connect with you?
Well, my website is dancingjaguarinspirations.com. And you would be able to find information on all of our virtual classes there. We have a virtual academy called Dancing Jaguar Academy, and we have classes for all ages. We
Okay.
have a virtual spirit camp for children, and we also do teacher training programs to teach other adults how to take this curriculum to children in their communities or online. And we have had people reach out to us from all over the world saying, there's nothing like this in our country. Would you bring this to us? So
Mhm.
we're really looking forward to when the world really opens up again, because it feels like it's time. The message I keep receiving now in the middle of the night is the world is ready and the children are waiting.
That's
So
awesome.
I really believe that this is the time that our world needs this type of curriculum to come forward for children to learn about how to nurture the essence of who they are.
Awesome. So I'll be sure to put the links and all the information that you just mentioned in the description box. And I invite all of our audience members to go ahead and check those out, connect with Eva, and make sure that you find ways to support your children in ways that is not always necessarily science-based or fact-based, but what you actually see in the world outside of our senses, basically. And Eva, can you tell us a little bit more about the origin of the name Dancing Jaguars? Because I'm pretty sure there is something behind that as well.
There is. As I was growing up, and up until about my mid 30s, I was a dancer and a professional ballet teacher in New York. And so dancing has always been a very important part of my life. And then when I started studying shamanism and becoming a shamanic practitioner, I started working very closely with a black jaguar as my power animal. So I ended up, when it was time to start my company, using things that were really important to me in my life: the dancing, the jaguar, and I want to be an inspiration to children around the world. So Dancing Jaguar Inspirations became the name of my company.
Awesome, awesome. Well, jaguars are very powerful spiritual creatures,
They
and
are.
so I can definitely see that. Awesome. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Eva, for taking time out of your day to be here with us and explain your expertise and kind of open a window for many people that might otherwise not even know that window exists. I really appreciate that and your message. And it's definitely a way we can serve children and give an extra dimension to their lives and their existence and how they can serve the world and make the world a better place. Any final words of wisdom before we part ways?
Just that the world is ready and the children are waiting. And if you are looking at how you can support either your children or children around the world, I would love to have an opportunity to speak with you. So thank you for
Beautiful.
this opportunity, Dr. Al.
I appreciate it. Guys, if you haven't already done so, please make sure you click on subscribe and become part of our YouTube channel so that you can be notified and see the latest experts and the gifts and the content that they bring for you and to you. And we look forward to seeing you on future series as well. And Eva, I look forward to further collaborations. Cheers.
Thank you.